welcome to Turn Off, Turn On Ventures. Today, we're here in Singapore, very lucky to get some time with our special guest, Claudia Marcusson. Now, Claudia has an extensive experience and history in the investments industry. She's been at VCs, advising, a consultant, an investment bank, like the list goes on. So, we'll start first by letting Claudia introduce herself.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I think you said most of it already, but maybe in a nutshell of who am I? I would say maybe I'm a trained lawyer and quantitative researcher, a university lecturer in emerging technologies, fintech, basically sustainability, innovation, entrepreneurship, venture builder by choice, I would say, a banker maybe by profession, and a mentor and board advisor to startups and scale-ups, and also an investor.
I'm pretty sure I missed 80% of that.
No.
Which is crazy.
That's not even saying what I do in my day-to-day job, but yeah.
Sure. Wow. Well, and you know, in Turn On Ventures, a lot of it is we try to understand investors and startup founders for who they are, outside of their work, outside of their business. So, Claudia, who are you as a person outside of work? What do you do? What are your hobbies?
Outside work, so sports. So whatever you can do. So running, basically, yoga, food. Big part of my life. So I'm cooking and I love to bake. Do that since I'm really tiny, and don't want to know how many cooking books I have, but I had to clean up once, and I think a third was going, and I still ended up with more than 90 cooking books. So it's a kind of hobby. So
And you
one
cook
experience.
And you follow like the recipes.
So it's always when you think, oh, what do I fancy for tonight? Maybe let's get some inspirations and do something different kitchen, different cuisine. So
I enjoy cooking as well, as you know. Oh man, I've never been one to follow cooking books.
So you do more intuitive?
I watch videos, cooking shows, and the books I buy are like the fundamentals of cooking books, right? Like pasta. What do you learn about pasta? Or tomato-based dishes. So you learn about how to use one ingredient in a different way. It stops me from buying too many books.
Then you might like food science. I did a course once about food science, so that's super interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be really cool. So let's talk a bit about your investment history, and not about track record and all that, but who are you as a investor? Like when did you start investing?
I think it goes back a good 30 years. So during my study times, so that gives your audience a bit of idea. I was a little bit older, but I think one of the first stocks I bought was Nokia, and that was obviously more like stock exchange traded and not like over the counter or any kind of startup. But that's how I kind of rolled into it. I was fascinated by trading and how it works, and I kind of just experimented a little bit. That's how it started, I think. And then being more in entrepreneurship, I started early on to be part of an entrepreneur group during my study time. So I was in a student consulting firm, and via that one obviously got in contact with a lot of startups. So that's how it kind of continued then.
And well, over your career, you must have come across many investment opportunities, made a few investments yourself. How did you change as an investor as you learned more about these opportunities and people that you've met?
Yeah, so I have to say it depends on the risk appetite, and that one obviously also changes over time. And it depends on in what kind of investments you want to go. So probably at that time I was a student, I didn't have much money, right? So it was more like the plain vanilla, whatever you can buy via a broker. And usually then more equities or stocks, not even any kind of derivatives. But then also with startups, right, it depends what kind of data sets you have. And I learned quite quickly that it really matters If you're into, so if you want to understand it or if you just want to experiment, right? So I have friends or also colleagues of mine. I worked like a good, what is it, like 16, 17 years in investment management, where I came across all kind of convictions from portfolio managers who said like, oh yeah, we just need to hold it longer. We have a long, term strategy. But ultimately, it depends really on your profile. Like when you say to yourself, you know what, if I make 30% or so I get out, if I lose 30% I go out, right? So what are your limits? What is your risk appetite? And also how much do you know about the investment? So do you want to know about the investment or not? If not, then probably I would say go into a fund or so.
Yeah.
But then is it a market you feel familiar with? So usually I wouldn't go into very crazy countries or where I have no clue about, right? Or where I don't know the team if it's a startup, for instance. So I really want to have the feeling this one could be an investment which gives me some return and not just, lose some money there.
Yeah. And I mean, this is really quite interesting because you've gone from the public markets and from what I hear, like a more quant-backed, research-backed approach to investing, and now you're in the wild west of investing, working with startups with zero data, right? Like, it's not because they don't want to share that with you, because they have no data, no timeline. They started a few months ago. How is that different for you in the mentality that you have?
So it demands a different mindset, right? I mean, one thing is obviously the risk appetite has also changed over time. But also, you should be always aware whenever you invest, you could lose the money completely. So that's number one. So that you're not relying on it, that you don't have that expectation, okay, this one becomes the next unicorn or so per se. You wish so, but you still need to do your due diligence. So with startups, for instance, I need to get a good feeling, is there really a niche, is there a market, is there demand? Do I understand the product to a certain degree? I mean, even though there might be maybe very deep tech specialists running the startups as a founder, but I don't need to know maybe all the ins and outs, but I need to understand and get a feeling, okay, is this something which could fly over time? Is it scalable, highly scalable? And do I believe in the team? So, and even a team can change over time, but do I believe that the team can actually make it?
For myself as an angel investor, team is probably my highest priority. You know, knowing them as people, knowing who they choose to work with, even understanding their problems with people, their co-founders sometimes, right? And you mentioned you've done venture building, startup mentorship, lectured people at our universities. I wasn't even good as a student at the university, so you know this is like quite an amazing experience with people who are starting from zero, right? What do you think are some not so obvious gaps that founders potentially have when they start and they don't know they don't have something like that, or they really should be prepared right at T0 with a certain skill set, mentality? What is it?
Yeah, so what's interesting is actually that it sounds super normal to listen to your clients, but actually it's not really intuitive to most founders. So, and not only to startups, I mean also in the corporate world I've worked in, right? So often enough products and solutions are developed having your perspective in mind, and you have that conviction, you maybe it was a problem which you ever thought, oh, I want to solve that, but then you never ask really actively clients, so that kind of human-centered design, the kind of simplicity of the client is kind of missing. And you could have the opposite as well, right? I mean, you have sometimes startups who listen to everyone and then they don't have a focus, and then they start to catch and have a lot of things. And I do believe that really good startups, they have do one thing and one thing really good. But on the other side also, if they don't listen at all, right? So if they don't go out and don't ask the clients consistently and have their own conviction instead of looking at, hey, wait a second, it's not working, why is it not working? let's ask again my clients, let's see how I can get further insights, right? So it's a classical one with lean startup, right, with a book which said get out of the office, get out of the building, basically, ask your clients.
That's really helpful, and I've made the same mistake on this trip, thinking about what I want, how I want to grow from this journey, and not understanding what I can bring to whoever I meet. So well, with your advice as well, I've kind of tried to change the process and the approach to it, which is really helpful. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, for early stage founders that you really enjoy working with, you feel a very high potential, what are some aspects of them that you think distinguishes them that you really appreciate?
Yeah, so usually, I mean, you have different type of founders, right? So sometimes you have founders who just want to try out, and they have an idea and they think that idea might work, but there are so many more things around it they have to learn, plus they are not maybe the specialist in that idea.
Yeah.
So that one might be another kind of trap, I guess.
Yeah.
But often enough you have founders who are really the specialist, so they come from a specific area and they develop a product or a solution or a service, and they know it in and out. There might be not the great marketing specialist, there might be not maybe the great HR specialist or the legal expert or anything like that, but they do know the product very well, and they know that there is a market for the product. And that one, that kind of passion and that kind of conviction around that, and building something that I really admire. So it's great to work with people who have this kind of vision and who come out with ideas which you usually think, oh, I wouldn't have thought about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the highly technical founders with that long background, whether it's a PhD or even just working in the industry, and they strongly feel that there's a gap. It's the risk they are willing to take to try to plug this gap that sometimes you get very moved by. Just like, why would you even try? But you are, I really like that as well. Maybe just to end off, right? You must have met a lot of people in your career, people who have decades of experience above you in corporate, and also people who are just starting out. So the full spectrum, right, from the baby all the way to the experienced teacher, senior. Is there one story of someone that you really respect and you probably learn a lot from?
Probably a lot of stories. I mean, usually I have to say I also learn very well by mistakes. So it's not necessary that somebody else tells you, but when you make mistakes, then obviously you also learn. And you don't want to make them more often than necessary.
Yeah.
So like going steep in while there's an IT bubble. So somebody specific, probably not really that I have something in mind, but
well, you mentioned mistakes. What's one
like,
mistake?
At that time, for instance, while I was still studying, I thought like, oh, IT, that's the thing, and then the IT bubble basically started to hit, where I thought like, oh, okay, that's maybe not too handy. I would say, I mean, do your due diligence, trust your guts as well, go with a feeling, and also for the startups. So if there are any startups listening, right? Have that kind of conviction, go for it, right? So, I mean, if you invest or if you have a startup, just do it full time. I mean, do it with the whole heart, and not just a little bit at the side. Oh, let's do now. I'm cooking and I'm doing some investments quickly or something. Just I mean, dedicate some time for it, I would say.
Oh, that's really helpful. So, dedicate your time. She said it. We try to end off our interviews with a quickfire session. So this is 5 questions. You just answer what is most instinctive, what comes to mind. Okay. So we're gonna start easy. What's something that you're really good at, but is quite useless?
Quite useless.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll give an example.
Yeah.
When I'm a teenager, I used to learn all the funky dance moves, and I could do the whole kind of.
But if you can make money with it, it might be useful.
Well,
And
I
again,
didn't. I
usefulness
didn't.
depends. Oh my. Okay, you got me on this one. I mean, and useless is very. I mean, I can tell you, I have a lot of kitchen equipment which usually are quite useless.
So you're very good at shopping for
Yeah, so I have like a food dehydrator, or a smoothie making machine, or
food dehydrator, like to make like
like
the
dehydrate
dried
food.
fruits and
Yeah,
all that.
exactly.
Ah.
So you use it maybe maximum once every 3 or 4 years.
Oh.
So that one maybe
It's
was a kind of hobby to
Yeah.
get into all of equipment,
yeah.
which I don't use that often.
It's a bad habit.
It takes a lot of space actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I-
Well, food dehydrator, yeah. Mine is nice, so I'm safer.
Oh yeah.
Safer
No,
in
I
space.
have a bread machine,
Oh, you got a bread baking machine as well?
a waffle maker. One of these things is called nananas or so. So you put frozen fruit in it, and you get something which is like ice cream. You don't use it that often. I mean, at the beginning it's not like, oh, great. It's
Once a
hot.
week.
Exactly. Oh no, Nola. I think it's like once in a year.
Once
maybe.
in a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 2. What's the most adventurous thing you've done?
Most adventures. I traveled when I was, in 1990 basically. So when I was very young, in my student time, I traveled from Germany to Gambia by car. So it was quite adventurous at that time. So, and I had to negotiate and basically hustle around with trading food for clothes or something like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's a long journey.
Yeah, I think 5,000 something kilometers, yeah. That was probably adventurous, yeah. Jumping from a cliff, which was absolutely stupid to do that, of 7 meters.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was very adventurous, but yeah. I have low blood pressure, so that might explain.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
do a
that-
couple of things which
Scaled up.
pump up and makes me alive. Yeah.
Okay, third question. You've been here in Singapore for a couple of years now. What do you love most about Singapore?
All the food.
The food.
Yeah.
What dish?
Mee siam.
Mee siam?
I love mee siam. I really love mee
I
siam.
have a guilty feedback about mee siam. So I don't know why. Maybe it's just my investing mindset. I always feel like mee siam is very low ROI. You pay a lot,
True.
but you get carbs and acid, like
True.
citrus and
Yeah, but it's also, it bundles all the flavors in a way. So the richness of the flavors, that's what you get actually. So you pay
it is
for the
yeah,
richness
yeah,
of
yeah,
flavors
yeah.
maybe.
The sauce is really good. Yeah. Okay. Fourth question, and this is a question that I ask people quite often. I've also asked Rob Goldstein, who is the COO of BlackRock,
Yeah.
when I was there. So the question is, what's the best non-financial investment that someone can make in themselves within $1,000? Learn
Yeah, learning.
classes.
So, yeah, I mean, most of these things, they are meanwhile free. So you have all the open universities and the open classes, right? With $1,000, you get a fair bit. So I mean, if you go on Coursera or any of these ones, right, and just invest in yourself to learn new things, maybe learn about certain products, either be it from the investment side or be it from the startup side, right? I think that's, wisely spent time, more time than money maybe.
More time and
Yeah.
money. Yeah, definitely. And last question. Why do you do what you do?
Because I love it. So everything I do actually, I do because I like it, and I have the luxury to do that, which I'm fully aware of. So being born in a country where there's no war or anything like that, and that I can basically just go for things and have different kind of side businesses or side kind of projects, which I enjoy. So I get energy out of it actually. So and also when I teach, I love to get the energy back from the students, or from even when I teach CEOs, right? When I lecture and they ask questions and they're curious, they want to learn, I learn with them, I learn new things again also from their side. So It's what I enjoy. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Claudia. Um, well, there you have it. This is Claudia Marcusson, and I hope you enjoyed it because I definitely learned a lot from this time. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Okay.